You are listening to Falling for Her, No Howling Needed, written by D.N. Leo, narrated by Jessica Lee. She caught a billionaire alpha mid-fall off a cliff. He claimed her as his mate before they hit the ground. One problem, she's a wolf who can't shift. No howl, no wolf, no way to claim him back. He thinks she's destined for someone else. She thinks her fated mate is carved into an ancient stone. Neither of them knows the mountain has been waiting for this moment for 25 years. A search and rescue dachshund named Frank thinks they're both idiots. And he's right. This is an original story written exclusively for you, the audience of this channel. If you love shifter romances with action, humor, and a talking dachshund who steals every scene, hit that like button and drop a comment below. Your engagement is important, and it keeps these stories coming. Want to see your story idea come to life? Comment below with your favorite tropes, meet-cutes, or sidekick ideas. D.N. Leo reads every single one, and your idea might be the next story you hear. And because so many of you asked, there's a free exclusive bonus chapter with a lot of laughs and heart that you don't want to miss. All links are in the description and pinned in the first comment. Looking for more stories? Head over to happynovels.com where you'll find the complete collection in one spot. Now let's dive in. Chapter 1. The chalk on Petra's fingers had gone tacky in the morning heat. She shifted her grip on the limestone, found her next hold, and dropped another half-meter down the cliff face. "This is unnecessary," Frank announced from inside her backpack. Petra braced her feet against the rock and reached for the next hold. "You say that every time." "Because it's true, every time." The dachshund's long snout appeared over her shoulder, his whiskers brushing her ear. "There are perfectly good stairs in this world, escalators, elevators, moving walkways at airports. We're not at an airport, Frank." "We could be." He repositioned himself, his considerable length shifting against her spine. "You could work at an airport. Lovely flat surfaces, climate-controlled, those little carts that beep." Petra laughed and dropped another meter. The rock here was good, solid granite with clean edges, nothing crumbly. A perfect Tuesday morning practice run. "I'm serious." Frank's cold nose pressed against her neck as he craned to see how far down the ground still was. He made a small sound of distress and retreated into the backpack. "You have transferable skills. You could be a luggage handler." "Luggage handlers lift heavy things all day." "A ticket scanner person." "That's not a job title." "It should be. Very safe. Ground level. Zero chance of plummeting to one's death." His voice went muffled as he burrowed deeper into the pack. "You could work in a bakery, a library, a nice office with carpeting and those chairs that spin." Petra found her next foothold and tested it with her weight. Solid. She transferred down. "You'd hate an office. No trails to track." "I would adapt." Frank's dignity was audible. "I am a professional. I adapt to circumstances, unlike some people who insist on dangling from cliff faces on their days off. It's called practice. It's called a death wish with better marketing." A pebble skittered past her shoulder. Petra paused and looked up. Nothing. Just the empty cliff face above her, the morning sun turning the granite gold and pink. "Did you hear?" she started. The shadow came first. Then the noise, scraping, scrabbling, a voice shouting something that might have been a curse or a prayer. A body hurtled past her. Petra's hand shot out on pure instinct, but he was already gone, falling, his rope tangled around him like a useless cocoon. The impact nearly ripped her off the wall. His rope had snagged hers. The carabiner screamed against the friction as his full weight jerked her sideways, her shoulder wrenching, her fingers clawing for purchase on suddenly hostile rock. Frank went absolutely berserk inside the backpack. "What? Who?" "There's a man. We're dying. This is it. I knew it. I told you. Bakery. Should have been a bakery." "Frank, shut up!" Petra gritted her teeth and found her hold. The rope was taut, vibrating with the weight of the climber dangling somewhere below her. She could hear him breathing, ragged, panicked. "Are you alive down there?" she called. A pause. Then, "Define alive." Male, deep voice, strained, but not screaming. Good signs. "Can you move your limbs?" "Checking." Another pause. "Limbs report for duty. Dignity did not survive." Frank was still hyperventilating against her spine. He fell, from the sky. People are falling from the sky now. This is fine, this is completely fine. Frank, I need you to breathe. I am breathing. I'm breathing very loudly because we're all going to die. Petra assessed the situation. Her anchor was holding. His rope was tangled with hers about 3 meters down, which meant he was dangling somewhere below that. The nearest ledge was maybe 5 meters to her left, a decent shelf of rock, wide enough to stand on. "Okay, mystery man," she called down. "I'm going to swing you toward a ledge. On 3, push off from the rock face. Got it? I appreciate your optimism about my current skill level. 1, 2, 3. She used her body weight to pendulum him sideways. He pushed, loss of strength, but it was enough. The arc carried him toward the ledge. "Grab it!" Petra shouted. His hands found the rock. She heard him scrabbling, grunting, then a breathless, I'm on something. Is this the ledge or am I hallucinating?" "It's the ledge. Stay there." Staying is my new favorite hobby. Frank had gone quiet, which was somehow worse than the screaming. Petra could feel him trembling against her back, his long body rigid with terror. "Almost done, buddy," she murmured. "We're walking down after this, I promise." She traversed toward the ledge, her muscles burning from the sudden strain of catching a full-grown man with nothing but a rope and spite. When she finally pulled herself onto the rocky shelf, she got her first good look at the climber she'd just saved. Tall, dark hair plastered to his forehead with sweat. Gray eyes wide with residual shock. Blood trickling from a cut on his cheekbone, scrapes all over his forearms. His gear was top of the line. She recognized the brand, expensive stuff, but the way he'd rigged it told her everything she needed to know. Money couldn't buy skill, and this man had none. Frank chose this moment to emerge from the backpack. His entire body was shaking, his ears flattened, his eyes wild. He took one look at the stranger and erupted. "You!" He pointed his long snout at the man like an accusation. "You fell. On us. We were having a lovely morning of unnecessary climbing, and you fell from the sky." The stranger blinked at the dachshund. "Is your dog talking to me?" "Don't change the subject." Frank paced the ledge now, his stubby legs moving so fast he was practically vibrating. "Do you have any idea how high up we are? Of course you don't. Because if you did, you wouldn't have been up there with $1,000 of gear you clearly learned to use from YouTube." "Frank," Petra pinched the bridge of her nose. No, I will not be silenced. This man is a menace. Look at him, he's bleeding. That's blood coming out of his body because he fell." "I think he knows he fell," Petra said. "Does he?" The stranger stared at Frank with an expression caught somewhere between horror and fascination. "He's very articulate. He's very dramatic." Petra crouched in front of him, tilting his chin to check the cut on his face. Superficial. The scrapes on his arms looked worse, but nothing that needed stitches. "You'll live, physically anyway. Your climbing career, on the other hand, is deceased." "I don't have a climbing career. Clearly." Frank had stopped pacing and was now sitting at the very center of the ledge, as far from any edge as physically possible. His whole body still trembled. "We are walking down. I don't care if it takes 6 hours. We are walking." "We're walking," Petra agreed. She looked at the stranger. "Can you walk?" He tested his limbs again, more carefully this time. Winced. "Ankle's not great, but yeah, I can walk." "Good." She stood and offered him a hand. "Because if I have to carry you, Frank might actually stroke out." "I heard that," Frank muttered, "and I'm not ruling it out." The walk down was slow. Frank took point, his nose to the ground, his stubby legs moving with renewed purpose. This was what he was built for. Tracking, finding paths, reading the terrain. On solid ground, with all 4 paws planted firmly in the dirt, he transformed from a trembling mess into a consummate professional. "Left at the boulder," he announced. "Game trail. Deer mostly. Some rabbit. The gradient decreases by 12% in approximately 40 meters. Thank you, Frank." "You're welcome." He paused, sniffed, adjusted course slightly. "Also, there's a snake about 20 meters ahead. Non-venomous, but I thought you should know." The stranger, who still hadn't offered his name, limped along beside Petra, One hand braced against trees when the path got steep. She could feel him watching her, watching Frank, processing. "So," he said finally, "search and rescue?" "Frank is, retired now, level 3 certified, 15 years of field work." Petra steadied him when his ankle threatened to buckle. "I'm just a climbing instructor." "Just." He laughed, then winced and touched his ribs. "You caught me mid-fall, swung me onto a ledge, and walked me down a mountain." "Just" is doing a lot of work in that sentence. "Path narrows ahead," Frank called back. "Single file, watch your footing, some loose shale." They emerged from the tree line 20 minutes later, the parking area coming into view. Petra's motorcycle sat where she'd left it, helmet dangling from the handlebar. She turned to face the stranger. "Okay, real talk. Whatever you were trying to do up there, don't. You've got the gear, but gear doesn't mean anything if you don't know how to use it. If I hadn't been there, you'd be a stain on the rocks right now." He flinched, but he didn't argue. "I know," he said quietly. "I know I'm not qualified. I know it was stupid, but I have no other options. I can't help you if you have a death wish." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a business card. "I need a private instructor, someone who can teach me enough to not die on the route I need to climb." Petra took the card. "Finn Hartley, CEO, Hartley Industries. You own half the port, the docklands, and every logistics business in the state." She flipped the card between her fingers. "Why not hire a professional guide to take you wherever you need to go? It's complicated. Uncomplicated." He met her eyes. Something raw flickered there before he locked it down. "I can't hire someone to do this climb for me. It has to be me. Personally, part of the arrangement." "What arrangement?" "A family one." Petra handed the card back. "I don't do private training anymore. The company I work for switched to group classes, more profit margin. Sorry, can't help." Something flickered across his face. Pain, desperation, the kind of expression that made her want to take a step back. "What's your name?" he asked. "Petra." "Petra." He said it like he was memorizing it. "I'm not climbing for sport. Something important, critical, depends on me reaching the top of a specific mountain. I have to do it myself. Those are the terms. But there's nothing in the rules that says I can't hire someone to teach me how not to die trying." "Which mountain?" "Dreamer's Cliff." "That's insane." Her voice came out sharper than intended. "No, I won't take the job. And you shouldn't be climbing that mountain." "Right." He pocketed the card, his jaw tight. "Forget I asked." She watched him limp toward the parking lot. A black Range Rover sat at the far end. Of course, a billionaire wouldn't walk here. Frank appeared at her heel. "He's going to try again. Without help. He'll die on that cliff." "Not my problem." Frank sat, his long body curling slightly to keep his paws together. He smelled like desperation. Not greed, not ambition. Desperation. There's a difference. Petra didn't answer. She walked toward her motorcycle, pulled her helmet off the handlebar. The man came out of nowhere. 1 second she was standing by her bike. The next, an arm was around her throat, yanking her backward, a voice snarling something in her ear about territory and trespassing and wolves who didn't know their place. Gray eyes. A snarl. A fist connecting with bone. Finn Hartley moved like something other than human. Fast. Brutal. His ankle apparently no longer a problem when violence was required. The attacker went down hard. Stayed down. Petra stumbled back, her hand going to her throat where the arm had been. Her heart hammered against her ribs. And then she heard it. Petra. Not a voice, not exactly. More like a whisper woven into the wind itself, slipping between the trees, curling around her name like it knew her. "Petra, come home." Ice flooded her veins. She knew that sound. Her grandmother had told her about it. Her mother had warned her. "When you hear the call, the protection is weakening. You'll need safe harbor. You need to come home." Home was a continent away. Home required a plane ticket she couldn't afford. The whisper came again, fainter now. "Petra, come home." She looked at Finn Hartley, at his bloody knuckles, his torn shirt, his gray eyes that held too many secrets. "Hey," she called. He turned. "That job." Petra's voice came out steadier than she felt. "Private instruction. What's the pay?" His expression shifted, cautious hope breaking through the guarded mask. "Name your price." 5,000. 10. He didn't hesitate. "That's the fee for Dreamer's Cliff." Frank pressed against her ankle. "She'll take it. Instructions given on the ground, with my 4 paws on solid earth. If we go to any mountains, I will track trails and guide you on foot. No climbing required." Finn's eyebrows rose. "I thought Dreamer's Cliff required technical climbing." "That's what all the research said." "Your research was written by amateurs." Frank's professional dignity had fully reasserted itself. "I've done search and rescue on that mountain. Recovered a climber who took the tourist route up the cliff face, completely unnecessary. There's a walking path to the summit if you know where to look." "No climbing?" Hope crept into Finn's voice. "Minimal climbing, some scrambling. Nothing that requires falling from the sky onto innocent bystanders." Finn almost smiled. "I'll pay extra for the dog's expertise." Frank's ears perked. "The name is Frank, and my consulting fee is separate from hers." "Noted." A ghost of a smile crossed Finn's face. "When can you start?" Petra looked toward where the attacker had fled. Her mother's voice echoed in her mind. "Come home. Come home." But home was too far. And this stranger was offering exactly what she needed: money and a path to Dreamer's Cliff. She turned back to Finn. "Tomorrow. We start tomorrow." Chapter 2. The Hartley estate sat on 12 acres of old-growth forest, the kind of land that wolves had roamed for generations before the house existed. Finn pulled the Range Rover into the circular drive and sat for a moment, cataloging his injuries: scraped forearms, twisted ankle, cut on his cheekbone that had finally stopped bleeding. Lily was going to kill him. He climbed out of the car, testing his weight on the bad ankle. It held. Barely. He'd made it halfway to the front door when it swung open. Finnegan James Hartley. His sister stood in the doorway, pale as porcelain, dark circles under her eyes that hadn't been there 6 months ago. She was wrapped in one of his old sweaters, the sleeves hanging past her fingertips, and she looked like a strong wind might knock her over. She also looked absolutely furious. "Lily, don't you Lily me!" She crossed her arms, the sweater bunching at her elbows. "What happened to your face?" "Minor disagreement with gravity." "Try again." Finn sighed and walked past her into the house. The foyer smelled like cedar and old books. Home, always home. But underneath it, the faint medicinal scent that had become permanent since Lily's diagnosis. "I found someone to help with Dreamer's Cliff," he said. Lily followed him into the living room, her bare feet silent on the hardwood. "That's not an answer to my question." "It's a related answer." He lowered himself onto the leather sofa, wincing as his ankle protested. "I was practicing on the cliffs near Blue Point. Things got complicated." "Complicated how?" "I fell." The color drained from Lily's already pale face. She sank onto the ottoman across from him, her hands gripping her knees. "You fell, off a cliff." "Technically, I fell down a cliff. Not off. Important distinction." "Finn." "I'm fine, obviously. Sitting here, talking to you all limbs attached." He tried for a smile. "A climbing instructor caught me, literally. Saved my life, then yelled at me about my technique. Or lack thereof." Lily stared at him. Her eyes, gray like his, a Hartley trait, were too bright. "You could have died." "But I didn't. This time." She stood abruptly, pacing to the window. The afternoon light caught the thinness of her frame, the way her collarbones jutted beneath the sweater's neckline. "Finn, I don't want you to do this." "Dreamer's Cliff is dangerous. The artifact, it's not worth your life." "It's worth yours." Lily spun around. "Don't say that." "It's true." Finn met her gaze and held it. "The doctors have tried everything. Traditional medicine, experimental treatments, that specialist in Geneva who charged us a fortune to shrug and say he'd never seen anything like it. This is what's left, Lily. The artifact, the old magic. Legends, stories Mom used to tell us. Stories that are looking more credible every day, given that modern medicine can't even name what's killing you." His voice came out harder than he intended. He forced himself to soften. "I'm not going to let anything happen to you." "That's not negotiable." Lily's jaw tightened. She looked like she wanted to argue, but the fight drained out of her as quickly as it had come. She was tired. She was always tired now. "Is the climbing instructor any good?" she said finally. She caught me mid-fall and swung me onto a ledge like it was nothing. So yes, I'd say she's good. She? Something in Lily's tone made Finn pause. Is that relevant? Just curious. But a small smile tugged at the corner of her mouth, the first one he'd seen in weeks. What's her name? Petra Stone. Pretty name. I didn't notice. Lily's smile widened. Liar! Before Finn could respond, footsteps sounded in the hallway. Their mother appeared in the doorway, silver hair swept back from her face, posture perfect despite her 63 years. Margot Hartley had been the pack's alpha female for 4 decades, and she carried herself like it even now. Her eyes went immediately to Finn's face, to the cut, the scrapes. Training accident, he said before she could ask. Margot crossed to him, tilting his chin with 2 fingers the same way Petra had done on the cliff. These are cleaned properly? More or less. More or less is not an answer. She released his chin, her nostrils flaring slightly. Something shifted in her expression. You smell different. I fell down a cliff and got rescued by a stranger. Probably picked up some... not that kind of different. Margot's eyes sharpened. There's a female scent on you, but it's odd, layered. Finn thought of Petra's hands on his face, checking his injuries, her grip on his arm when his ankle buckled on the walk down. The instructor. She had to help me down the mountain. Tell me about her. Not much to tell. She's a climbing instructor. Apparently, she has a very opinionated dachshund who used to do search and rescue. Margot didn't smile. The scent, Finn. It's wolf, but it's not wolf. It's like someone wrapped a shifter in something else. Hidden. Masked. She paused. Or protected. Protected from what? I don't know. That's what bothers me. Margot moved to the window where Lily had stood, gazing out at the forest beyond the glass. What do you know about this woman? Her name is Petra Stone. She works at one of the climbing gyms in the city. She's good enough to catch a falling idiot and walk him down a mountain without breaking a sweat. He hesitated. And she reacted strangely when I mentioned Dreamer's Cliff. Margot turned. Strangely how? She said I shouldn't climb it. Not that it was dangerous, although it is, but that I shouldn't. Like she knew something about it. Do some research, Margot said. Before you trust this woman with your life on that mountain, find out who she is. Finn nodded. He pulled out his phone and dialed. Adam picked up on the second ring. Boss, thought you were practicing today. I was. Plans changed. I need you to look into someone for me. Name? Petra Stone. Climbing instructor. Probably works at one of the certified gyms. I need her full background, credentials, work history, pack affiliation, if any. Keys clicked on the other end of the line. Adam was good at this. Had been Finn's beta for 8 years, handled the company's security division, and could find information on anyone. Petra Stone. Got her. Licensed instructor, 5 years experience, certified in technical rescue, ice climbing, high-altitude mountaineering. Impressive resume. What else? Freelance mostly. Did some work with mountain rescue services overseas. Currently contracted with Summit Academy downtown, but she's listed as part-time. More clicking. No pack registration on file. That's unusual for a shifter in our territory. What makes you think she's a shifter? Her scent signature's in the database. Someone logged her at the gym 3 months ago, standard territorial monitoring. She pinged as wolf, but... Adam trailed off. But what? No wolf. The scan says wolf shifter, but there's no active wolf signature. It's like the system glitched. A pause. Or like someone's hiding something. Finn pulled up Petra's profile on his own phone while Adam talked. The photo showed her in climbing gear, dark hair pulled back, a half smile on her face. She was beautiful. He'd noticed on the cliff, but he'd been too busy trying not to die to dwell on it. Now, looking at her photo, he let himself see it. Strong jaw, eyes that held secrets, the kind of face that made you want to know the story behind it. Boss? Adam's voice cut through his thoughts. You still there? Yeah. Finn cleared his throat. I need you to look into something else. There was an attack today, in the parking lot near Hartley Point. A male wolf, not from our pack. An attack on you? On Petra. Silence. Then, the woman you just asked me to investigate was attacked by an unknown wolf? That's a hell of a coincidence. That's what I thought. Finn's jaw tightened. I recognized the scent. Blackwood pack. But I want to know why. Why send someone after a random climbing instructor? Why her and not me when I was standing right there? You think they know something about her that you don't. I think I met this woman by accident 2 hours ago, and already someone's trying to hurt her. That's not random. That's targeted. Finn stared at Petra's photo, at those secret-keeping eyes. Find out what the Blackwood pack knows, and find out what Petra Stone is hiding. On it. Anything else? Finn glanced at Lily, who had curled up in the armchair by the fireplace, her eyes already drifting closed. At his mother, still watching him with that knowing gaze. Yeah, he said. Clear my schedule for the next 2 weeks. I'm going to Dreamer's Cliff. Summit Academy smelled like rubber mats and chalk dust, with an undertone of sweat that no amount of industrial cleaning could fully eliminate. Petra pushed through the front doors, Frank trotting at her heels, his nose working overtime. 17 people have been through here today, he announced. 12 regulars, 4 beginners, you can tell by the fear sweat, and 1 person who really needs to reconsider their diet. Thank you for that update, Frank. You're welcome. It's important to stay informed. He followed her past the front desk, his stubby legs working double time to keep pace. Now about our financial situation. Our financial situation is fine. Our financial situation is about to be excellent. Frank's ears perked forward. $10,000, Petra. Do you know what we could do with $10,000? Pay rent, buy groceries, maybe fix the motorcycle. Think bigger. He dodged around a teenager carrying a gear bag. I've been doing some calculations. If this Dreamer's Cliff job goes well, and it will, because I'll be navigating, we could leverage it into more private contracts. High-end clients only. Billionaires who need mountain access but lack the skills. It's a niche market, but a lucrative one. You've been thinking about this for 2 hours. I've been thinking about this for 2 hours, and I already have a 5-year projection. Frank sat down in front of the staff room door, blocking her path. Year 1, establish reputation. Year 2, raise rates. Year 3, hire additional staff, ground-based only, obviously. Year 4, expand into luxury wilderness experiences. Year 5, retire to a property with extensive flat acreage and 0 cliffs. Petra stared down at him. You have a 5-year plan. I have a 10-year plan. The 5-year is just phase 1. He stood and pushed through the door ahead of her. I'm a professional, Petra. Professional's plan. The staff room was empty except for Marcus Chen, Summit Academy's owner and manager, who sat at the cluttered desk in the corner, frowning at a laptop screen. He looked up when Petra entered, his expression shifting from concentration to surprise. Petra, thought you were off today. I was. Something came up. She grabbed her gear bag from the locker with her name on it and started checking the contents. Harness, ropes, carabiners, chalk bag. I need to take the next 2 weeks off. Marcus's eyebrows rose. 2 weeks? You're scheduled for 3 group sessions and that corporate team-building thing. I know, I'm sorry, but a private contract came up, good money, and I can't pass on it. Private contract? Marcus leaned back in his chair. I thought you said you were done with private work. I thought I was too. Petra checked her rope for fraying, running it through her fingers by feel. Life changes. Frank had settled himself on the small dog bed Petra kept in her locker, one of the perks of being a long-time employee with an opinionated companion. He watched the conversation with the air of a supervisor observing a performance review. Tell him about the attack, Frank said. Marcus glanced at the dachshund. Attack? Petra sighed. She'd hoped to avoid this part. There was an incident at Blue Point today. Someone jumped me in the parking lot. Marcus sat up straight. Jumped you? Are you okay? I'm fine. He wasn't. She zipped her gear bag closed. But you should warn the other instructors. Tell them to avoid the area for a while, or at least not go alone. Could be someone targeting climbers. Easy marks, distracted, carrying expensive gear. You think it was random? Has to be. I don't have anything worth stealing. Marcus studied her for a long moment. You sure you're okay? Positive. Petra slung the gear bag over her shoulder. I'll check in when I'm back. 2 weeks, maybe less. Be careful out there, whatever this private job is. Always am. Frank hopped off the dog bed and followed her out. That went well. He didn't ask too many questions. I appreciate a manager who respects boundaries. You appreciate anyone who doesn't make you climb things. Also true. The afternoon sun hit Petra's face as she stepped outside. The parking lot was half full, cars glinting in the light, everything normal and ordinary and completely at odds with the chaos swirling inside her chest. She walked to the far corner of the lot, away from the building, away from anyone who might overhear. Then she pulled out her phone and dialed. Her mother picked up on the 4th ring. Petra, is everything all right? The sound of her mother's voice, warm, worried, 8,000 miles away, made something twist in Petra's chest. I'm fine, Mom. I need to tell you something. That's never a good way to start a conversation. I heard it today. The call. Petra gripped the phone tighter. The wind. It said my name. It said come home. Silence stretched across the ocean between them. Mom, I heard you. Her mother's voice had gone careful. Measured. When did this happen? This afternoon. There was an attack. Someone went after me in a parking lot, and right after, I heard it, just like Grandmother described. An attack. The worry sharpened. Petra, are you hurt? I'm fine. Someone helped me. She didn't mention that the someone was a billionaire alpha who moved like violence was his native language. That felt like too much to explain right now. But Mom, there's something else. An opportunity. I have a chance to go to Dreamer's Cliff. The silence this time was heavier. Loaded. You've warned me against that place my whole life, Petra continued. Grandmother talked about it like it was sacred, dangerous, but she also said it held answers. About my wolf. She swallowed. About everything. Petra, her mother's voice cracked. If the call is coming, it means the protection is weakening. You need to come home. We can figure this out together. Home is a continent away, and I can't afford a plane ticket, but Dreamer's Cliff is here. And someone's paying me to go there. Petra closed her eyes. I can take care of myself, Mom. You know I can. But if there's something I should know, something I should look out for, tell me now, please. A long exhale came through the phone. When her mother spoke again, her voice was older, heavier, carrying the weight of secrets held for too long. You can't have it all, Petra. That's what the cliff teaches. Something will have to give. Something always has to give. What does that mean? It means the mountain will test you. It will offer you what you want most, but the price. Another pause. Your grandmother whispered something into that rock before she died. A secret. About your soulmate. Petra's heart stuttered. My soulmate? The stone holds it. The stone remembers. Her mother's voice dropped to barely a whisper. If you want to know, close your eyes when you reach the summit. Ask for guidance. The rock will answer. But Petra, be sure. Be absolutely sure you want to know. Some truths change everything. Frank pressed against Petra's ankle. She hadn't realized she was shaking until she felt him there, solid and warm. I have to know, she said. I've spent my whole life with half a soul, Mom. No wolf, no answers, just questions and that damn protection spell keeping me wrapped in cotton wool. I need to know who I am, who I'm supposed to be with, even if it changes everything. Then go. Her mother's voice was thick with tears. Go to the cliff. Find your truth. But promise me you'll be careful. Promise me you'll come back. I promise. The call ended. Petra stood in the parking lot, phone pressed to her chest, the afternoon sun warm on her face. Frank looked up at her. Well, that was cryptic and ominous. I feel very reassured about our upcoming mountain expedition. Despite everything, Petra laughed. It came out watery, half a sob, but it was still a laugh. You're coming with me, right? Obviously. Someone has to keep you from doing something stupid. Frank started walking toward the motorcycle. Also, I negotiated a separate consulting fee. I'm not missing out on that. Of course you did. I'm a professional, Petra. He glanced back at her, his long face somehow managing to look both dignified and deeply concerned. Professionals plan, even when the plan involves magical mountains and cryptic maternal warnings about soulmates. Petra followed him to the bike. Tomorrow, she would meet Finn Hartley. Tomorrow they would begin the journey to Dreamer's Cliff. And somewhere on that mountain, carved into ancient stone, her grandmother had hidden the identity of her fated mate. She just had to survive long enough to find out who it was. Chapter 3. The trailhead for Dreamer's Cliff sat at the end of a dirt road that hadn't seen maintenance since the last century. Finn's Range Rover looked deeply offended by the potholes. "Left here," Frank announced from the back seat, his nose pressed against the window. "There's a clearing about 50 meters ahead. Good place to park. Flat, safe, no cliffs." "We're going up a mountain, Frank," Petra said. "There will be cliffs. There will be views of cliffs from a safe distance, on solid ground." He sniffed the air coming through the cracked window. "I smell pine, deer, something that died about 3 weeks ago, probably a rabbit, and—" he paused, sniffing harder. "Granola bars. Someone has granola bars." Finn glanced in the rearview mirror. "I packed supplies." Frank's ears perked. "What kind of supplies?" "Energy bars, trail mix, jerky, water purification tablets, first aid kit." "Jerky?" Frank's tail started wagging despite his best efforts to maintain professional dignity. "What variety of jerky?" "Beef, turkey, and some venison my mother made." "Venison." Frank closed his eyes in what appeared to be religious ecstasy. "I retract 30% of my concerns about this expedition." Petra laughed. "Only 30%? The other 70% involves gravity, unstable rock formations, and the general hubris of humans who think mountains owe them anything." Frank opened his eyes. "But the jerky helps." They parked in the clearing and unloaded. Petra checked her gear bag while Finn spread a map across the hood of the car. Frank circled the perimeter, nose working, cataloging every scent within a 100-meter radius. "2 hikers came through yesterday," he reported. "Amateurs. They went up the tourist trail and came back down 4 hours later. No other recent human traffic." He paused. "There's also a fox den about 60 meters northeast, just so you know. Foxes are untrustworthy." "Noted," Finn said. He traced a finger along the map. "The artifact should be in a cave system near the summit. According to the old texts, there's a chamber that's only accessible during certain lunar phases." "When's the next phase?" Petra asked. 3 days. "Then we'd better get moving." She shouldered her pack and turned to find Frank with his teeth clamped around a coil of climbing rope. He froze. Guilt radiated from every inch of his long body. "Frank? What are you doing with my rope?" He released it slowly, strings of drool connecting his mouth to the nylon. "Quality control inspection. You were trying to hide it." "I was relocating it to a secure location, for safety purposes." Petra crouched down to his level. "Frank, we talked about this. There might be some climbing involved. Minor climbing. You'll be in the backpack. I don't see why climbing is necessary when walking exists." He sat down, his stubby legs splayed. "Walking has served humanity well for thousands of years. Nobody ever walked off a cliff. People walk off cliffs all the time. That's falling, not walking. There's a distinction." He huffed. "Fine. But I want it on record that I advocated for the walking-only approach." Recorded and filed. Petra clipped the rope to her harness. "Now get in the backpack. We're burning daylight." The first 2 hours of the ascent were easy. Frank guided them along a trail that wound through old-growth forest, the trees so tall their canopy filtered the sunlight into green-gold shafts. Finn walked beside Petra, matching her pace, his earlier clumsiness on the cliff replaced by a steady, measured stride. He moved differently on flat ground, Petra noticed. Confident, controlled, like his body finally made sense to him without the added variable of vertical rock faces. "You're staring," Finn said without looking at her. Heat crept up Petra's neck. "I'm assessing. There's a difference." "And what does your assessment conclude?" That you're much better at walking than climbing. A smile tugged at the corner of his mouth. Devastating analysis, Frank called back from 10 meters ahead. Trail splits in 20 meters. Left fork goes to the tourist overlook. Right fork is the path we want. Steeper, but more direct. Right it is, Petra said. They took the right fork. The terrain grew rockier, the trees thinning as they gained elevation. Finn kept pace without complaint, but Petra noticed him scanning their surroundings with an alertness that had nothing to do with the landscape. "You're expecting trouble," she said. "Always." He helped her over a fallen log, his hand warm against hers for a brief moment. "I need to clear something up. The attack yesterday at the parking lot. I think it was meant for me." Petra's stomach tightened. "What makes you say that?" "My pack has rivals. Business competitors, territorial disputes, the usual wolf politics." His jaw hardened. "The Blackwood pack has been pushing our borders for months. They knew I'd be at that trailhead. They probably planned to send a message." "By attacking a random climbing instructor?" "By attacking someone near me, making me watch, reminding me that no one around me is safe." He met her eyes. "I'm sorry. You got caught in pack business that has nothing to do with you." Guilt twisted in Petra's chest. She thought of the voice on the wind, the protection weakening, the secrets her family had kept for generations. "It might not be entirely your fault," she said slowly. Finn's eyebrows rose. "Meaning?" "My family has always been into adventurous things, climbing, exploration. We've been places others can't, or won't, go." She picked her way over a rocky outcrop, buying herself time to choose her words. "Let's just say Dreamer's Cliff holds more secrets about me than I'd like. What those secrets are exactly, I'm not sure. But it's possible someone knows something about my connection to this place, something that makes me a target too." Finn studied her for a long moment. "Okay, we'll be extra careful." "The universe is complicated," she forced a smile. "Welcome to my life." He accepted that with a nod. No pressing, no demands for more information, just quiet acknowledgement that they both had secrets. Petra found herself liking him for it. "Ridge ahead," Frank announced. His voice had shifted into professional mode, clipped, precise. "The path narrows significantly. Single file. Watch your footing. There's a significant drop on the left side." "How significant?" Finn asked. "Significant enough that I don't want to discuss it." Frank's ears flattened. "Just stay to the right. Stay very, very much to the right." The ridge path was exactly as advertised. Narrow, rocky, with a sheer drop on one side that plunged into mist-shrouded depths. Petra went first, her movements sure and practiced. Finn followed, one hand trailing along the rock wall for balance. Frank rode in Petra's backpack, his eyes squeezed shut. "How much longer on this section?" His voice came out muffled against her shoulder blade. "Maybe 10 minutes. I'm going to count to 600. Tell me when it's over." "Frank, 1, 2, 3, 4. Finn's hand shot out, gripping Petra's arm. She froze. "What?" "Movement." His voice dropped to barely a whisper. 50 meters back in the tree line. Petra scanned the ridge behind them. At first, nothing. Just rock and scrub and the distant green of the forest below. Then she saw it. A shadow that moved wrong. A shape detaching itself from the landscape. "We've got company," she breathed. Finn was already moving. "Stay here. Keep Frank safe." Like hell. But he was gone, launching himself back along the narrow path with a speed that shouldn't have been possible on such treacherous terrain. The shadow emerged fully now. A man, dressed in dark clothing, scrambling up the rocks toward them. Finn met him halfway. The impact echoed off the cliff walls, bodies colliding, grunts of effort and pain. They grappled on the narrow ledge, each fighting for leverage, for position, for the upper hand. Petra set Frank down on the widest part of the path. "Stay." "With pleasure." Frank pressed himself against the rock wall. "I have no intention of moving ever again." She ran toward the fight. The attacker was good, trained. He twisted out of Finn's grip and drove an elbow into his ribs. Finn staggered, recovered, threw a punch that connected with the man's jaw. Then the attacker's hand came up, and something glittered in the light. Silver dust. He blew it directly into Finn's face. Finn's hands flew to his eyes, clawing at the burning particles. He dropped to his knees on the narrow ledge, blinded, vulnerable. The attacker pulled a knife. Petra hit him from the side. She didn't think, didn't plan, just launched herself at the man with every ounce of strength she had. They went down together, rolling dangerously close to the edge, the knife skittering across the rocks. The silver dust swirled around them. Petra felt it on her skin, in her lungs. Nothing. No burning, no weakness, no pain. The attacker's eyes went wide. "What are you?" Petra didn't answer. She drove her knee into his stomach, her elbow into his throat. He gasped, tried to throw her off, but she was faster, stronger than he expected, because she had no wolf for the silver to hurt, no shifter weakness for it to exploit. For once, being broken made her dangerous. The attacker scrambled backward, reaching for the fallen knife. His fingers closed around the handle. 16 pounds of furious dachshund latched onto his wrist. Frank's jaws clamped down with 15 years of search and rescue determination. The man shrieked, dropping the knife, shaking his arm wildly. Frank held on, his growl vibrating through his entire body. "Get off!" Petra kicked the knife over the edge. It tumbled into the mist and vanished. The attacker finally flung Frank free. The dachshund hit the ground, rolled, and immediately positioned himself between Petra and the threat, lips pulled back from his teeth. "Try it," Frank snarled. "Try it. I will end you." The man looked at Petra, at the blinded alpha behind her, at the small enraged dog blocking his path. He ran, scrambled down the ridge, half falling, half climbing, until he reached a lower ledge and disappeared into the tree cover below. Petra dropped to her knees beside Finn. "Let me see." "Can't." He was still clawing at his eyes. "Burns." "Stop rubbing. You're making it worse." She grabbed his wrists, pulled his hands away from his face. His eyes were red, streaming tears, the skin around them already starting to swell. "I have water. Hold still." She flushed his eyes with her canteen while Frank stood guard, his small body vibrating with residual fury. Petra used her sleeve to blot the water from his face. "Can you see anything?" He blinked again. "Shapes, blurry. It's clearing." Silver dust in the eyes won't cause permanent damage, but it hurts like hell. She sat back on her heels. "How did you know it was silver?" "Pack training." He tried to open his eyes fully, winced. "We drill for it. Never actually had it used on me before." "Well, now you have a fun story for pack reunions." A weak laugh escaped him. "Some story. Got my ass saved by a climbing instructor and a 15-pound dog." 16 pounds, Frank corrected, "and I prefer tactical intervention specialist." Finn's vision was slowly returning. He looked at Petra, really looked at her, with an expression she couldn't quite read. "The silver didn't affect you. It wasn't a question." Petra's throat tightened. "No, it didn't. That's not normal. For a wolf. I'm not a normal wolf." She stood, offering him her hand. "We need to keep moving. If that guy reports back to whoever sent him, they'll know you're on this mountain alone. They might send more." Finn took her hand and let her pull him up. He swayed slightly, and she steadied him with a hand on his chest. For a moment, neither of them moved. "Why don't you call your pack?" Petra asked. "Get backup? This climb just got a lot more dangerous." Finn's jaw tightened. He stared at the ridge path ahead, at the mountain still waiting to be climbed. "My sister is dying," he said finally. "Lily. She's 26 years old and something is eating her from the inside. The doctors can't identify it. The specialists can't treat it. But the old stories, the ones my grandmother used to tell, they talk about a relic, an artifact hidden in Dreamer's Cliff that can heal any illness." Petra's breath caught. A magical cure. Old magic, wolf magic. He turned to face her. "But there's a catch. There's always a catch. The artifact only works if it's retrieved by someone acting out of genuine love. Not greed, not ambition. Love. If I send my pack up here, if I turn this into a mission, it becomes about territory, about proving something. The magic won't work. So you have to do it alone. I have to do it with pure intentions." His smile was bitter. "Hard to maintain pure intentions when people keep trying to kill me. Frank had crept closer during the conversation. He sat at Finn's feet, looking up with an expression that might have been sympathy. "You really love her," the dachshund said. "Your sister. You'd do anything for her." "She's all I have left that matters." Finn's voice cracked just slightly. "Our father died 3 years ago. Our mother runs the pack, but Lily is my person, my best friend, the one who laughed at my jokes when no one else would. I can't—" He stopped, swallowed. "I can't lose her." Petra thought of her own mother, of the phone call yesterday, of all the secrets and protections and whispered warnings that had shaped her entire life. "I'm an only child," she said quietly. "But I understand, having someone you'd burn the world down for." Finn met her eyes. "Your family. Where are they?" "Far away. Another continent. I haven't seen them in 5 years." She started walking again, needing to move, needing to not look at him while she said this. "After this job, I'm hoping I'll have enough money to visit, to get some answers of my own." "What kind of answers?" The path widened slightly here, enough for them to walk side by side. Frank trotted ahead, his professional composure restored now that the immediate threat had passed. "You asked what secrets this mountain holds for me," Petra said. "The truth is, I'm not entirely sure. But my grandmother, she came here once, a long time ago. She whispered something into the stone. A secret about—" She hesitated. "About my fated mate." Finn's steps faltered. "Your fated mate? I know how it sounds. Old-fashioned, superstitious." She shrugged, trying to make it casual. "But my family believes in that kind of thing. The idea that somewhere out there, there's one person who's meant for you. Written in the stars or carved in stone or whatever." "Do you believe it?" The question hung in the air between them. "I didn't want to," Petra admitted. "It felt like a cage, like someone else deciding my future before I even got a vote. But—" She thought of her mother's voice on the phone, of the whisper on the wind, of the grandmother she barely remembered but whose legacy shaped everything. "The traditions say it's real, and lately I'm starting to think maybe I should listen. Maybe the cage is actually a compass." Finn was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice was rough. "A compass. Something to point you toward where you're supposed to be, even if you didn't know you were lost." She glanced at him. "Does that make sense?" "More than you know." They walked in silence after that. The path climbed higher, the air growing thin and cold, the trees giving way to bare rock and hardy scrub. Frank found the camping spot as the sun began its descent, a sheltered alcove with a natural windbreak and a flat area just big enough for 2 tents. "We stop here," he announced. "Defensible position, good sight lines, and most importantly, 0 chance of anyone rolling off a cliff in their sleep." Petra set down her pack. "High praise from you, Frank. I'm feeling generous. Near-death experiences do that to me." He curled up on a flat rock, his long body coiled tight. "Wake me if anyone else tries to kill us. Otherwise, I'm conserving energy for tomorrow's horrors." Finn started setting up his tent. Petra watched him for a moment, the efficient movements, the quiet competence, before turning to her own gear. Tomorrow they'd climb higher. Tomorrow they'd get closer to the secrets the mountain held. And somewhere above them, carved into ancient stone, her grandmother's whisper waited. Petra just had to survive long enough to hear it. Chapter 4. The wind changed at sunset. Finn checked his weather app for the 3rd time, frowning at the screen. Clear skies, mild temperatures, 0% chance of precipitation. "The forecast says we're fine," he said. Petra looked up from where she was securing the tent stakes. Her eyes went to the horizon, to the clouds gathering in the west like a bruise spreading across the sky. "The forecast is wrong. It's satellite data, Doppler radar, very sophisticated. It's a mountain." She drove the last stake into the ground with more force than necessary. "Mountains don't care about satellites." Frank emerged from the tent, his nose twitching. "She's right, the air pressure is dropping. I can feel it in my ears." He shook his head vigorously. "I hate when I can feel it in my ears." Finn looked at the sky again. The clouds were moving faster now, swallowing the last of the daylight. A gust of wind cut through the campsite, cold enough to make him shiver. "That came out of nowhere," he said. That's the magic of the mountain. Petra straightened, brushing dirt from her knees. It doesn't want us here. This is its way of saying so. The mountain has opinions? The mountain has power. She met his eyes, and something in her expression made his wolf stir. My grandmother used to say Dreamer's Cliff tests everyone who climbs it, pushes them, sees what they're made of. And if we fail the test, then we don't reach the summit. The first drops of rain hit Finn's face, cold, sharp. Within seconds, the drops became a deluge. Inside, Petra ordered. Now. They scrambled into the tent. Finn first, then Petra, then Frank, who complained bitterly about the indignity of being carried through precipitation. The canvas walls shuddered with each gust of wind, the fabric snapping and groaning like a living thing. "This is fine," Frank announced from the corner where he'd wedged himself. "This is completely fine. Just a minor apocalypse. Nothing to worry about." Lightning split the sky outside, close enough that the thunder came less than a second later. The tent lit up brilliant white, then plunged back into darkness. "That was close," Finn said. "They'll get closer." Petra rummaged through her pack and pulled out an emergency blanket. "We need to stay warm, body heat. It's going to be a long night." "I volunteer as thermal buffer," Frank said. "I'll position myself between you for maximum heat distribution." "That's not—" Petra shook her head. "Non-negotiable." Frank was already arranging himself in the center of the small tent. "I am an excellent source of warmth. Also, I require protection from the elements. This is a mutually beneficial arrangement." Petra laughed, a real laugh, warm despite the cold seeping through the tent walls. "Fine." Frank in the middle. They arranged themselves around the dachshund, shoulders pressed together, the emergency blanket draped across all three of them. Frank's long body was surprisingly warm, his steady breathing a small comfort against the chaos outside. The wind howled. The tent shook. Rain hammered against the canvas like fists demanding entry. Their bodies were close. Her warmth sent electricity through him. His wolf surged forward, pressing against the inside of his chest, demanding something Finn couldn't name. "Mine," the wolf whispered. "Ours. Claim her. Keep her." Finn pushed it back. His wolf was confused. Had to be. Petra was beautiful, yes, brave, capable, everything he'd ever wanted in the tent ripped. One moment they were huddled together. The next, the wind tore through the canvas like claws, shredding the shelter into ribbons that whipped away into the darkness. Rain slammed into Finn's face. He couldn't see, couldn't hear anything over the roar of the storm. "Petra!" No answer. He wiped the water from his eyes and searched the chaos. Frank was pressed against a boulder, his small body trembling, his mouth moving in what might have been screaming, but the wind swallowed everything. "Where is she?" Frank's head jerked toward the cliff edge. No. Finn scrambled toward the precipice. The rain made the rock slick, treacherous. His ankle, still weak from the earlier fall, buckled twice. He didn't care. He reached the edge and looked down. Petra hung 20 feet below, her climbing rope tangled around a rocky outcrop. The outcrop was crumbling. Even in the darkness, even through the rain, Finn could see chunks of stone breaking away, falling into the void beneath her. "Finn!" Her voice barely reached him. "The anchor's failing!" The rock groaned. More pieces fell. She had minutes, maybe less. Finn didn't think. His body moved before his mind could catch up, swinging over the edge, finding handholds in the wet stone, climbing down toward her with a skill he didn't possess. The rain blinded him. The wind tried to tear him from the cliff face. His fingers screamed in protest, the cuts from yesterday reopening, blood mixing with rainwater. None of it mattered. Get to her. Save her. Mine. His wolf wasn't whispering anymore. It was roaring. He reached the outcrop just as another section crumbled away. Petra's rope was wound around a jagged spur of rock, the tension holding her suspended over nothing. If the spur broke, "Give me your hand." Finn braced himself against the cliff, one arm wrapped around a solid anchor, the other reaching for her. "I can't." She struggled with the tangle, her fingers working at the knots. "The rope's caught. If I let go, I'll just pull you down with me." Then I'm coming down with you. He stretched further, his shoulder screaming. Give me your hand. Finn, now! She looked up at him. Rain streamed down her face. Her eyes were wild, terrified, but underneath the fear was something else. Trust. She trusted him. The spur cracked. Petra grabbed his hand. Finn pulled. The rock gave way completely, tumbling into the darkness below. But Petra was in his arms, her body pressed against his, both of them clinging to the cliff face as the mountain tried to shake them loose. Mine. His wolf surged forward with such force that Finn nearly lost his grip. The claim wasn't a thought, it was a certainty, a bone-deep knowledge that settled into every cell of his body. This woman, this brave, impossible woman. Ours. Finn? Petra's voice was muffled against his chest. Are you okay? He wasn't okay. He was the opposite of okay. His wolf had just claimed a woman who couldn't be his mate, who had no wolf for him to bond with, who was climbing this mountain to find her actual fated mate, carved into stone by her grandmother. I'm fine, he lied. Can you climb? I think so. Then climb. I'm right behind you. They ascended together, inch by painful inch. The storm raged around them, but it seemed almost distant now, background noise against the thundering of Finn's heart. By the time they reached the top, the worst of the wind had passed. The rain had slowed to a steady drizzle. Frank was waiting for them, his entire body vibrating with relief and residual terror. You're alive. He pressed himself against Petra's legs, then Finn's, then Petra's again. You're alive! We're okay, Frank. Petra scooped him up, cradling his trembling body against her chest. We're okay. But Finn wasn't okay. He stood in the rain, watching her comfort the dog, and felt his entire world restructuring itself around a single impossible fact. His wolf had claimed her, not wanted her, not liked her, claimed her. In 35 years of life, his wolf had never done that. Had never looked at a woman and said this one, only this one, forever. Finn had started to think it never would, that he was one of those wolves who'd go through life without a true mate. And now his wolf was howling her name inside his skull, and she was standing there with rain dripping from her hair and a shivering dachshund in her arms, completely unaware that everything had just changed. How could she be his mate? We need shelter. Petra's voice cut through his spiral. There's an overhang about 30 meters east. I saw it earlier. Not ideal, but better than nothing. Lead the way. She did. Frank stayed in her arms, still trembling, his long face tucked against her neck. Finn followed, his mind racing, his wolf pacing restlessly inside him. The overhang was small but dry. They huddled together in the cramped space, the emergency blanket salvaged from the wreckage wrapped around all three of them. This time, Frank didn't joke about positioning. He simply curled himself into the smallest possible ball and pressed against Petra's stomach. Sleep, Petra murmured. We have a long day tomorrow. I'll keep watch. Finn. She reached for him in the darkness. Her hand found his face, her palm cool against his cheek. You just climbed down a cliff in a hurricane to save my life. You need rest. I'm fine. You're shaking. He was. He hadn't noticed until she said it, but his whole body was trembling. Adrenaline crash, cold, and something else. Something that felt like standing at the edge of a cliff and realizing you've already jumped. Come here, she said softly. Petra. Body heat, remember? Her hand slid from his cheek to his shoulder, tugging gently. Don't make me pull rank. I'm your instructor. A laugh escaped him, broken, exhausted, genuine. Is that how this works? That's exactly how this works. Now get over here before Frank and I freeze to death. He let her pull him closer. Let her arrange the blanket around them. Let her tuck herself against his side, her head finding the hollow of his shoulder like it was made to fit there. Frank sighed contentedly from his position between their bodies. This is acceptable. Suboptimal conditions, but acceptable warmth distribution. High praise, Petra mumbled. I'm feeling generous. Near-death experiences do that to me. A pause. Also, There are no cliffs in this overhang. I appreciate that. Petra's breathing slowed. Her body relaxed against Finn's, sleep claiming her quickly, the exhaustion of survival demanding its due. Finn stayed awake. He listened to the rain taper off to nothing, listened to Frank's soft snores, listened to Petra's steady heartbeat against his ribs. His wolf had gone quiet, not peaceful, never peaceful, but patient, waiting. She's ours, it seemed to say. She just doesn't know it yet. Finn tightened his arm around her, breathed in the scent of her hair, mountain air, and something uniquely her, something that made his wolf rumble with satisfaction.
Frank here, Level 3 Certified Search and Rescue Professional. You may have noticed I've been having a very stressful day. Mountains, snakes, stone guardians, the usual. But here's something that isn't stressful. Heading over to happynovels.com to grab the free bonus chapter. You'll get to see me meet Lily, start a very professional consulting business, and discover some disturbing information about my name. Let's just say it involves meat products, and I have opinions. All the links are in the description and pinned comment. Now if you'll excuse me, I have a storm to survive, and humans to keep alive. It's exhausting being this competent.
Chapter 5. Finn woke to warmth. Not the thin, reluctant warmth of an emergency blanket. Real warmth, the kind that came from another body pressed against his, from soft breath against his neck, from fingers curled into the fabric of his shirt like they belonged there. Petra was in his arms. At some point during the night, she'd turned toward him. Her face was tucked against his shoulder, her hair a dark spill across his chest. One of her legs had tangled with his. Frank was wedged between their stomachs, snoring softly, apparently unbothered by being sandwiched between two humans. Finn didn't move. He should move. Should untangle himself before she woke and things got awkward. Should put some professional distance between them. He didn't move. His wolf rumbled with satisfaction, a low vibration in his chest that had nothing to do with sound. This, the wolf seemed to say, this is right. This is where she belongs. Petra stirred. Her fingers tightened in his shirt, then relaxed. A small sound escaped her. Not quite a word, not quite a sigh. Finn held his breath. Her eyes opened. For a moment, neither of them moved. She looked up at him, sleep soft and unguarded, her face inches from his. Something flickered in her expression. Surprise, then awareness, then something warmer that made his wolf howl. "Morning," she murmured. "Morning. I appear to have invaded your personal space." She smiled. "I'm not complaining." A smile tugged at her lips. "Professional boundaries, Mr. Hartley. I'm your instructor." "You keep saying that, Petra." "Because it keeps being true." "I notice you haven't moved." The smile widened. "I'm conserving body heat. It's a survival technique." "Very professional, instructor." "I thought so." Frank chose this moment to wake up. He lifted his head, looked at both of them with an expression of deep judgment, and sighed. "I see we've abandoned all pretense of appropriate sleeping arrangements." He extricated himself from between their bodies with great dignity. "I'll be outside investigating possible trail conditions. You two can continue, whatever this is." He trotted out from under the overhang, his nose already working. Petra laughed and finally, reluctantly, Finn thought, pulled away. The loss of her warmth felt like a physical blow. "We should get moving," she said. "Long day ahead." "Right." Finn sat up, running a hand through his hair. "Long day." The final ascent was brutal. The storm had transformed the mountain. Paths that had been clear yesterday were now strewn with debris, fallen rocks, uprooted scrub, rivers of mud that made every step treacherous. Frank navigated them around the worst of it, his nose to the ground, his professional demeanor fully restored. "Rockslide blocked the main trail," he reported, "but there's a secondary route. Steeper but passable. 40-degree gradient for about 200 meters. Then it levels out." "Lead the way," Petra said. They climbed. Finn's muscles burned, his ankle ached, but he kept pace with Petra, matching her step for step, refusing to slow her down. The fork appeared just after midday. Two paths diverged from a rocky clearing. The left path wound upward toward a dark opening in the cliff face, the cave system, according to the old maps, the artifact chamber. The right path led to a massive stone formation that jutted from the mountainside like a fist raised against the sky. Even from here, Finn could see the carvings on its surface, ancient symbols, wolf marks. Petra stopped, her eyes fixed on the right path. "The Stone of Secrets," she said quietly. "That's what my grandmother called it." Finn's chest tightened. "That's where you'll find your answer. About your mate." "Yes." She stood there, staring at the path, and Finn could see the longing in her face. The years of wondering, the questions that had haunted her entire life. Then she turned left. "The artifact first," she said. "Your sister can't wait. Petra, don't." She started walking toward the cave. "You went down a cliff in a hurricane to save my life. The least I can do is help you save your sister's." Finn caught her arm. "The weather's turning." She looked at him. "What?" He pulled out his phone and showed her the radar. The same technology that had failed to predict last night's storm was now showing another system moving in. Faster than before, bigger. "We might not have time to come back," he said. "If we go for the artifact first, you might miss your window. The path to the stone could be impassable by tonight." Petra looked at the radar, at the storm bearing down on them, at the right-hand path where her answers waited. "Then I'll come back another time." "Petra!" "This is a job, Finn." Her voice was steady, but something in her eyes wasn't. "You hired me to get you to the artifact. Professionally, I finish what I start. I can always come back to this mountain later." "But what if you can't?" Finn wanted to ask. "What if this is your only chance to find the other half of your soul?" His wolf snarled at him. "Let her choose. She's choosing us." She wasn't choosing them. She was choosing professionalism, duty, a job. But she was still choosing him over her own desires, and that meant something. "Thank you," he said. "Don't thank me yet. We still have to get there." They reached the chasm 20 minutes later. The bridge was gone. Finn stared at the gap between the two cliff faces, 30 feet of empty air where a rope bridge had once hung. The storm had ripped it away completely. A few frayed strands still dangled from anchor points on either side, swaying in the wind. "Well," Frank said, "this is suboptimal." "Is there another way around?" Finn asked. "Not unless you want to add 3 days to the journey." Petra was already studying the cliff faces, her eyes tracing routes invisible to him. "And based on that radar, we don't have 3 days." "So what do? We go down, across, and up." Finn looked at the chasm, at the sheer rock walls, at the darkness below where the bottom was hidden by shadow and mist. "You want to climb down into that?" "I want to get you to your artifact." Petra was already pulling rope from her pack. "The gap narrows about 40 feet down. We rappel to that point, swing across when the walls are close enough, then climb up the other side." "That sounds insane." "It sounds like Tuesday." She grinned at him, the first real grin since they'd left the overhang. "Trust me, I've done worse." "I find that deeply concerning." "You should. Frank, you're in the backpack." Frank's ears flattened. "I would like to register my objection." "Registered. Get in." "This is the worst day of my professional career." But he was already climbing into the pack, his long body curling to fit the space. "For the record, I was promised ground-based navigation. This is not ground-based. This is the opposite of ground-based." "Think of it as a trust exercise," Petra said. "I think of it as a near-death experience waiting to happen." His snout appeared over her shoulder. "But fine, I'm in. Let's get this over with." Petra rigged the ropes with quick, efficient movements. Finn watched her work, marveling at her competence. Every knot was precise. Every anchor was tested twice. "You first," she said. "I'll talk you through it. I'll safeguard this anchor, so if you can't reach the other side, I'll swing you back. You will not fall. Hear me, Finn?" "Yes, ma'am." Finn went over the edge. The descent was terrifying. His feet slipped on the wet rock. His hands burned against the rope. Every gust of wind made him swing, his stomach lurching with each pendulum motion. but Petra's voice was steady above him. "Left foot there. Good. Now reach for that hold. Yes, that one. You're doing great." He believed her. Against all evidence, against the screaming of every survival instinct, he believed her. The gap narrowed as they descended. 30 feet became 20. 20 became 15. "This is it," Petra called down. "You see that ledge on the opposite wall? That's your target. Build up your swing and launch when I say." Finn looked at the ledge. It was maybe 8 feet away, an easy jump on flat ground, a death sentence in midair. "On three? On three. 1, 2, 3. Finn pushed off, swinging across the gap. His hands caught the rope on the other side. His feet found the ledge. He was across. "Good." Petra was already preparing her own crossing. "Stay there. I'm coming over." She rappelled down to his level, Frank's face visible over her shoulder, eyes squeezed shut. Then she began building her swing, her body moving with a grace that made Finn's wolf purr. Mine, the wolf thought. Beautiful, strong, ours. Petra launched. Her hands caught the rope next to Finn's. Her feet swung toward the ledge. The snake struck from a crevice in the rock. It was a blur of scales and fangs, lunging straight for Petra's face. She jerked back instinctively, her grip slipping, one hand coming off the rope entirely. "Petra!" Finn couldn't reach her. He was on a different rope, 3 feet away, watching in horror as she dangled by one hand, the snake coiling to strike again. Frank's head shot out of the backpack. The dachshund's jaws clamped around the snake's body with the same ferocity he'd shown the attacker on the ridge. A violent shake of his head, and then he flung the snake away, sending it tumbling into the abyss below. "That's right!" Frank screamed after it. "That's what you get! Nobody threatens my human. I am Frank, level 3, certified, fear me!" Petra's free hand found the rope. She pulled herself stable, her breath coming in gasps. "Frank," she managed. "I know." He scooted back into the backpack, his dignity fully restored. "I'm a hero. Please hold your applause until we're on solid ground." "Are you okay?" Finn's heart pounded so hard he could barely hear himself think. "Fine. Just need a minute." Petra's hands were shaking, but her grip was solid. "Let's finish this climb before anything else tries to kill us." They ascended together. Every handhold felt like a victory. Every foot of progress was earned in sweat and determination. When Finn finally pulled himself over the lip of the cliff on the other side, his arms gave out completely. He lay on his back, staring at the gray sky, breathing like he'd run a marathon. Petra appeared next to him a moment later. Frank scrambled out of the backpack and pressed himself flat against the rock, his stubby legs splayed. "Ground," Frank whispered reverently. "Beautiful, wonderful, stable ground. I will never leave you again." Petra laughed, a slightly hysterical sound. "You bit a snake." "I did." "You flung it into a chasm." "I did that too." Frank lifted his head, his expression insufferably smug. "I believe the phrase you're looking for is 'Thank you, Frank, for saving my life with your incredible bravery and lightning reflexes.'" "Thank you, Frank." "You're welcome. I accept payment in jerky." Finn sat up. His whole body ached, but they were across. They were safe. And there, 30 feet ahead, the cave entrance yawned like an open mouth. Ancient symbols were carved into the stone around it. Wolf marks, just like the ones on the Stone of Secrets. But these were different, older, more intricate. And in the center, above the entrance, a single name was carved in letters that seemed to glow faintly in the dim light, Hartley. "The stone recognizes your intentions," Petra said. Finn stood slowly. His legs shook, but he walked toward the entrance. "Does it mean it accepts my entry?" She turned and smiled at him. "Well, it's a stone version of a written invitation." Chapter 6. The cave swallowed them whole. Darkness pressed against Finn's eyes, thick and absolute. The temperature dropped 10 degrees in the first 20 feet, the air heavy with the smell of ancient stone and something else, something that made his wolf pace restlessly. Magic, old magic, the kind that predated packs and territories and everything wolves had built in the modern world. "I can't see anything," Finn said. "Give it a moment." Petra's voice came from somewhere to his left. Your eyes will adjust. My eyes are wolf eyes. They should already be adjusted. This isn't normal darkness. Her hand found his arm, steadying. This is the mountain deciding whether to let us in. Frank's claws clicked against the stone floor. I would like it noted that I can see perfectly well. Superior canine night vision. One of my many professional qualifications. Then lead the way, Petra said. I was hoping you wouldn't say that. But Frank moved forward, his nose working. There's a draft coming from ahead. Moving air means open space. Follow me and try not to walk into any walls. They moved deeper into the cave. Finn kept one hand on the wall, cold, damp, ancient, the other reaching back to maintain contact with Petra, her fingers intertwined with his, and his wolf hummed with satisfaction. Ours. Keep her close. Protect her. Gradually, the darkness began to lift. Not from any external light source, the glow seemed to come from the walls themselves. Faint phosphorescence traced the carved symbols, illuminating a path deeper into the mountain. The Hartley markings, Finn breathed. They're everywhere. His family's wolf sigil repeated along the walls, interspersed with other symbols he didn't recognize. Dates, names, generations of Hartleys who had made this journey before him. Your family has been coming here for a long time, Petra said. I didn't know. He traced one of the carvings with his fingertip, the grooves worn smooth by centuries. My grandmother told stories, but I thought they were just stories. Stories are how wolves remember what matters. Petra moved past him, studying the walls. My grandmother was the same. I thought her tales about this mountain were fairy tales. Now I'm wondering how much else she told me was real. The passage opened into a larger chamber. Frank stopped so abruptly that Finn nearly tripped over him. Oh, the dachshund said. That's significant. The chamber was vast. Cathedral-high ceilings disappeared into shadow above them. The phosphorescent glow was stronger here, emanating from a pool of water in the center of the space. The water was perfectly still, perfectly clear, and it seemed to pulse with its own inner light. And floating in the center of the pool, suspended above the water by nothing visible, was a small stone box, obsidian black, veined with silver that caught the ethereal light. Wolf symbols covered every surface, their edges sharp despite the weight of centuries. The artifact. That's it, Finn whispered. That's what I came for. He started forward. The ground shook. Finn, stop! Petra grabbed his arm and yanked him backward, just as the floor where he'd been standing crumbled away. Stones tumbled into a chasm that hadn't existed seconds before, falling and falling until the sound of their impact faded to nothing. The cave is testing you, Petra said. You can't just walk up and take it. Then how do I get it? Frank was sniffing the air, his ears rotating like satellite dishes. There's a path. I can smell it. The stone here is different, older, more stable. He traced a rope with his nose. It winds around the chamber. Longer, but solid. Show me, Finn said. They followed Frank's nose around the perimeter of the chamber. The path was narrow, barely wide enough for one person, and it hugged the wall in a dizzying spiral that climbed higher and higher above the glowing pool. The air grew thinner, colder, charged with something that made the hair on Finn's arms stand on end. This is leading us up, Petra observed. Not toward the water. The artifact is floating, Frank said. Perhaps we need to reach it from above. The path ended at a ledge directly over the pool. The stone box hovered 20 feet below, close enough to see the intricate carvings on its surface, but too far to reach. Now what? Finn looked at Petra. I can't jump that far, not without ending up in whatever's at the bottom of that pool. You won't have to jump. Petra was already unshouldering her rope. I'll lower you down. You grab the box, I pull you back up. That's your plan? You have a better one? He didn't. Petra anchored the rope to a solid outcrop, tested it twice, then clipped Finn into the harness. Her hands were steady as she worked, professional and efficient. But when she met his eyes, something flickered there. Be careful, she said quietly. The magic in this place is old. It might not want to let the artifact go. I'll be fine. Finn. Her hand came up to rest against his chest, right over his heart. I mean it. Be careful. His wolf surged forward so hard that Finn nearly gasped. "Tell her. She needs to know. Before you go down there, tell her what she is to you." "Petra, The words caught in his throat. What could he say? "My wolf claims you as mate, but you're here to find someone else?" "I'll be careful," he finished lamely. If she noticed his hesitation, she didn't show it. She just nodded and began feeding out the rope. Finn descended. The air grew colder as he dropped toward the pool. The phosphorescent glow intensified, casting strange shadows across the water's surface. His wolf was growling now, a constant low rumble of warning. Something's wrong. Something's watching. 10 feet from the artifact. 5 feet. His fingers brushed the stone box. The water erupted. A shape burst from the pool, massive and dark and moving impossibly fast. Finn had a split-second impression of claws and teeth and eyes that glowed with ancient malice before the thing slammed into him. Pain exploded across his chest. His grip on the rope faltered. "Finn!" Petra's scream echoed off the chamber walls. The creature, some kind of guardian, Finn realized. A construct of magic and stone and primal fury, circled for another attack. It moved through the air like it was swimming, defying gravity, defying logic. Water streamed from its body, but where the droplets fell, they turned to dust before reaching the pool below. Finn's wolf roared to the surface. He shifted midair, bones cracking and reforming, human skin giving way to silver fur. His wolf form was larger than most, a product of alpha bloodlines, and he met the Guardian's second charge with claws extended. They collided in a tangle of teeth and stone and supernatural rage. The Guardian was strong, stronger than anything Finn had fought before. Its claws raked across his flank, drawing blood that scattered into the glowing water below. He bit down on what might have been its throat, but his teeth scraped against rock instead of flesh. "Can't kill it, can't hurt it. It's not alive." "Finn! The box!" Petra's voice cut through the chaos. He looked up. She was rappelling down toward him, her body swinging on the rope, one hand extended toward the floating artifact. "Distract it! I'll get the box!" Finn understood. He threw himself at the Guardian with renewed fury, driving it away from the artifact, away from Petra. Every blow he landed seemed to do nothing. Every wound he received screamed with pain. But he kept fighting, kept the creature's attention fixed on him while Petra descended. Her fingers closed around the stone box. The Guardian shrieked, a sound like grinding boulders, like mountains collapsing, and whirled toward her. "No!" Finn lunged, intercepting the creature mid-flight. His jaws clamped around its neck, his claws dug into its body. He held on with everything he had as it thrashed and twisted, trying to shake him loose. "I've got it!" Petra was climbing now, the rope flying through her hands, the box clutched against her chest. "Finn, let go! Climb!" He couldn't let go. The moment he released the Guardian, it would pursue her, would tear her apart before she reached the ledge. "Hold it, just hold it, give her time!" The creature's claws found his shoulder. Agony ripped through him. His grip weakened. "Finn!" Something small and furious launched itself from the ledge above. Frank hit the Guardian like a 16-pound missile, his jaws clamping onto its face, his body twisting with search and rescue determination. "I am so tired of things trying to kill my humans!" the dachshund screamed. "This is not in my job description. I was promised ground-based navigation." The Guardian reeled, disoriented by the unexpected attack. Its grip on Finn loosened. He didn't hesitate. Finn released the creature and leaped for the wall, his claws finding purchase in the stone. He climbed like he'd never climbed before, instinct driving him, survival demanding speed. Frank was still attached to the Guardian's face, still screaming profanities, buying precious seconds. "Frank!" Petra had reached the ledge. She was leaning over, one hand extended. "Let go! Jump!" Frank released his bite and pushed off the Guardian's head. His small body arced through the air, loss of altitude, too fast, not enough distance. Petra caught him. She pulled him against her chest, just as Finn hauled himself over the ledge, shifting back to human form mid-motion. The Guardian shrieked below them, circling the pool, unable to pursue now that the artifact was gone. For a long moment, none of them moved. The only sounds were their ragged breathing and the distant keening of the defeated guardian. Then Frank lifted his head from Petra's chest. "I would like," he said with immense dignity, "a very large piece of jerky, and a formal apology from this mountain." Petra laughed, a sound caught between hysteria and relief. Finn collapsed onto his back, chest heaving, wounds burning, heart pounding. They'd done it. They had the artifact. "Let me see." Petra crawled toward him, her hands running over his injuries. "You're hurt. The cuts are deep. I'll heal." Shifter metabolism was already working, the wounds beginning to close. "Are you okay?" Is Frank. "We're fine." He's guaranteed all sorts of jerky for the rest of his life. Finn managed a weak smile. "He claimed me as his human while I was in wolf form." Frank snorted. "I shouldn't have, but I'll take the jerky." He lifted his head, fixing Finn with a pointed stare. "I'll need that agreement in writing, stone-written kind of writing." Chapter 7. The ground shook again. Dust rained from the ceiling. Somewhere deep in the mountain, something groaned, a sound of ancient stone under stress. "The cave is collapsing," Frank announced. "I think the guardian was structural. We need to leave. We need to leave now." Petra pulled Finn to his feet. He swayed, pain lancing through his shoulder, but her arm went around his waist, steadying him. "Can you run? Can you carry the box?" "Already on it." She had the artifact tucked under one arm, the other supporting him. "Frank, lead us out." "This way. And for the record, I told you this mountain was hostile. Nobody listens to the professional." They ran. The cave was coming apart around them. Passages that had been stable minutes ago were crumbling, filling with debris. The phosphorescent glow flickered and died, plunging them into darkness broken only by the sounds of destruction. Frank navigated by scent and memory, his nose leading them through the chaos. Left turn, right turn, duck under falling rock, jump over widening crack. Don't stop. Don't slow down. Don't think about what happens if the exit is blocked. Light ahead. The cave entrance, still intact, daylight streaming through. Go, go, go! They burst out of the mountain just as the entrance collapsed behind them. Stone and dust exploded outward, showering them with debris as they threw themselves clear. Silence. Finn lay on his back, staring at the sky. Gray clouds were gathering again, the storm Petra had predicted, finally arriving. But they were out. They were alive. They had the artifact. "Everyone okay?" Petra's voice was hoarse. "Define okay," Frank muttered from somewhere to Finn's left. "Physically intact, emotionally traumatized, professionally outraged." "Close enough." She sat up, the stone box still clutched in her hands. "Finn?" He forced himself upright. His shoulders screamed in protest, but the bleeding had stopped. He'd live. "Let me see it," he said. Petra handed him the box. It was smaller than he'd expected, heavier. The carvings on its surface matched the ones inside the cave, Hartley symbols, wolf marks, words in a language he didn't recognize. He opened it. Inside, nestled on a bed of ancient velvet, lay a small crystal vial. The liquid inside glowed with the same phosphorescence as the pool, concentrated, pure, pulsing with power. "That's it," he breathed. "That's what will save Lily." Tears burned in his eyes. He'd done it. After months of searching, weeks of planning, days of nearly dying, he'd actually done it. "Finn?" Petra's hand touched his arm. "We should go. The storm's coming, and we need to get down before the Stone of Secrets." She froze. Finn looked up at her, at this woman who had given up her own answers to help him, who had climbed into darkness and faced monsters and nearly died, all for his sister. "We're not leaving until you get what you came for." "Finn, there's no time." "Then we make time." He closed the box and stood, ignoring the pain, ignoring everything except the look in her eyes. "You gave up your chance for me. I'm not letting you leave this mountain without your answers. The storm can wait." He took her hand. "Show me where the Stone of Secrets is." Frank groaned from the ground. "Are you serious? We almost died. Multiple times. In the last hour. And you want to go to another magical rock?" "Yes." "Fine. The dachshund hauled himself to his feet. "But I want it on record that I am lodging a formal complaint with whatever cosmic entity is in charge of this mountain. This is unreasonable." Petra stared at Finn. Her eyes were bright, and he couldn't tell if it was tears or just the strange light of the approaching storm. "You don't have to do this," she said quietly. "Yes, I do." He squeezed her hand. "Lead the way." She led. He followed her, knowing that the moment the stone revealed her mate, she would leave with another man. He came to this mountain with her, but he might return home alone. Finn's wolf snarled profanity. But Finn didn't think this was stupidity. His wolf considered her his mate. Whether or not she wanted him, this was what he would do for her. Help her find answers, make her happy, even if it destroyed him. The path to the Stone of Secrets was shorter than Finn expected. Or maybe it just felt shorter because his wolf was howling with every step, sensing something he couldn't name. The massive stone formation loomed ahead, its surface covered in carvings that seemed to writhe in the gray light. "This is it." Petra's voice was barely a whisper. "This is where my grandmother came," where she whispered her secret into the rock. She released Finn's hand and walked forward alone. The stone seemed to pulse as she approached. The carvings glowed brighter, responding to her presence. When she pressed her palm against the surface, the entire formation shuddered. "Close your eyes," she murmured to herself. "Ask for guidance." She closed her eyes. The wind picked up, whipping her hair around her face. The carvings blazed with light, bright enough that Finn had to shield his eyes. Frank pressed against his ankles, whimpering. "What's happening?" the dachshund asked. "I don't like this. I don't like any of this." Finn didn't answer. He couldn't look away from Petra, from the way the light was wrapping around her, sinking into her skin, illuminating her from within. Then she spoke. "Show me." Her voice was different, deeper, layered with something ancient. "Show me what you've kept hidden. Show me my mate." The light exploded outward. Finn staggered backward, blinded. He heard Petra cry out, not in pain, but in shock, in recognition. When his vision cleared, she was still standing at the stone, but she wasn't alone. A ghostly figure shimmered beside her, an old woman with silver hair and kind eyes. Petra's grandmother. "Child," the ghost's voice echoed strangely. "You came." "Grandmother." Tears streamed down Petra's face. "You're here. You're really here. I've been waiting for you to be strong enough, ready enough." The ghost smiled, "and waiting for him to find you." Finn couldn't look any further. He turned away. He could have walked off entirely, spared himself the moment of witnessing her bound to someone else. But it was too late. His feet wouldn't move. "Is that him?" Petra asked. Finn stared at the ceiling of the cave overhang above them. If it had stars, he would have started counting. There was nothing but stone and dirt and the weight of his own breaking heart. Frank made some noise he didn't quite understand and leaned harder into his legs. Behind Finn, Petra's grandmother's voice continued. "The wolf who would climb into death to save you. The wolf desperate enough to risk everything for love. The wolf I bound you to before you were born." Finn's heart stopped. "Turn around, you idiot," Frank said. Finn did what the dog said. He turned. In front of him, Petra's grandmother was smiling at him, while she was speaking to Petra. "The mate bond wasn't broken, child. It was sleeping, waiting for the right one to wake it." The ghost drifted toward Finn, studying him with ancient eyes that saw everything he'd tried to hide. "You felt it, didn't you? The claim, the certainty. Your wolf knew before your mind did." Finn couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. "The protection I placed on you," the grandmother continued, turning back to Petra, "was never meant to hide you from your mate. It was meant to keep you safe until you found him. And now—" She reached out, her ghostly hand hovering over Petra's heart. "Now it's time to let it go." "Let it go?" Petra looked terrified. "What happens when I let it go?" "Your wolf wakes up." The grandmother smiled, warmth radiating from her translucent form. "And you become whole." The light pulsed again. Petra gasped. her hands flying to her chest. Finn watched in awe as something shifted inside her. Her eyes, gray before, ordinary, suddenly blazed gold. Her body shuddered. A sound escaped her throat that was half human, half wolf. "Petra!" He ran to her, caught her as her knees buckled. She clutched his arms, her golden eyes meeting his, and in them he saw recognition. Not just of him, of what he was to her. "You," she breathed. "It was you. This whole time." "My wolf knew." His voice shook. "From the moment you caught me on that cliff. I didn't understand. I thought I was wrong." "You weren't wrong." She reached up, her hand cupping his face. Her touch was electric, alive with the bond singing between them. "I can feel it now. The bond. My wolf. She's here, Finn. She's finally here, and she's saying, 'Mine,'" he finished. "She's saying mine. Ours," Petra corrected, and then she kissed him. The bond snapped into place like a key turning in a lock. Finn felt it in every cell of his body, the connection, the certainty, the absolute rightness of her in his arms. His wolf howled in triumph. Her wolf answered, two voices becoming one song that echoed through the mountain itself. Mate. Finally. Ours. When they broke apart, both gasping, Petra's grandmother was still watching, still smiling. "I knew," the ghost said softly. "When I saw him fall from the sky and you catch him, I knew. A wolf desperate enough to climb for love, that was always the condition. And he met it before he even knew what he was climbing for." "You planned this," Petra said, laughing through her tears. "All of it." "I planted seeds. The mountain grew them." The grandmother began to fade, her edges blurring into the gray light. "Take care of each other, children. You have a long road ahead, and tell your sister—" She looked at Finn, her smile turning gentle. "Tell Lily that her grandmother says hello." The ghost vanished. The light faded. They stood alone at the Stone of Secrets, the storm clouds gathering above them, the world transformed in ways that had nothing to do with weather. Frank cleared his throat. "So," the dachshund said, "this is wonderful, truly. Fated mates, mystical revelations, ghostly grandmothers, all very romantic." He paused, his stubby tail giving one reluctant wag. "But there is a storm coming, and I would like to not be on this mountain when it arrives. Can we perhaps continue the emotional breakthroughs at a lower elevation?" Petra laughed, a sound of pure joy that rang across the mountainside. She turned in Finn's arms, looking up at him with those new golden eyes. "He has a point," she said. "He usually does." Finn kissed her forehead, then her nose, then her lips, soft and quick, a promise of more to come. "Let's go home." "Home," she repeated, testing the word like it was new, like it meant something different now. "I like the sound of that." They descended together, hand in hand, while Frank led the way with renewed professional purpose. His stubby legs moved with determination, his nose charting the safest path down. "Left at the boulder," he called back. "And for the record, when we get home, I expect a formal recognition ceremony for my contributions to this expedition. Multiple heroic interventions, snake removal, guardian distraction, emotional support during romantic revelations. I have been exemplary." "You'll get your jerky, Frank," Petra said. "I want the good kind, the venison." From Finn's mother. "Done," Finn said, in writing. Stone-written kind of writing? Frank considered this. Acceptable. The storm broke just as they reached the tree line, rain hammering down around them. Petra's new wolf surged beneath her skin, delighting in the wildness of it. Finn felt her joy through the bond, felt everything now, the connection between them humming like a live wire. Neither of them cared about the rain. Finn had the artifact, Petra had her wolf, and they had each other. Forever. Chapter 8. They stumbled down the final slope as the sun dipped toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and blood. Finn's shoulder had stopped bleeding, but he moved stiffly. Petra kept one hand on his arm, steadying him when the terrain got rough. Frank trotted ahead, his nose working overtime. 15 meters to flat ground, then we can find your vehicle and leave this accursed mountain forever. I'm never climbing again. Never. I don't care what treasure exists at what elevation. Ground level is my maximum altitude from this day forward. Noted, Petra said. I'm serious. If you two decide to climb Everest for your honeymoon, I'm staying in the hotel, with room service, and heated floors. Honeymoon? Finn raised an eyebrow. Frank didn't look back. You're mated. It's inevitable. I'm simply planning ahead like a professional. Petra felt heat creep up her neck. Her new wolf, still strange, still wonderful, rumbled with satisfaction at the word honeymoon. They reached the parking area where Finn's Range Rover sat waiting. The artifact box was tucked safely in Petra's pack. Lily's cure. The answer to everything. Frank stopped. His ears went flat against his skull. A low growl started in his chest. Not his usual complaining, but something deeper, more primal. What? Petra started. Wolves stepped out from the tree line. Not Finn's pack. These wolves were lean and scarred, their eyes cold with predatory calculation. They formed a semicircle, cutting off access to the vehicle, their bodies tense with barely restrained violence. A man emerged from behind them. The same man who'd attacked Petra in the parking lot days ago. His face was bruised where Finn had hit him, one eye still swollen. Hartley. His voice dripped with satisfaction. Knew you'd come back down eventually, with or without the artifact. More wolves emerged. 10, 15, 20. Finn moved in front of Petra, his body already shifting, bones beginning to crack and reform. Blackwood pack, he said. His voice had gone guttural, his wolf rising to the surface. This isn't your territory. It is now. The Blackwood wolf smiled, showing too many teeth. You're on our land, Hartley. Outnumbered, outmatched, and you've got something we want. The artifact isn't for sale. Good thing we're not buying. Petra's hand went to the climbing axe still hooked to her belt. Not much of a weapon against 20 wolves, but she'd go down fighting. Her own wolf surged forward, new, untested, but furious at the threat to her mate. Petra! Finn's voice was low, urgent. When they charge, you run. Take Frank, get to the car. Like hell. That's not a request, and I'm not following it. She moved to stand beside him. We fight together or not at all. Frank planted himself between their feet, his small body vibrating with rage. I've had a very long week. I've been carried up a mountain. I've bitten a snake. I've attacked a stone guardian. I've earned my rest, and you people are ruining it. One of the Blackwood wolves laughed. A dachshund. They brought a dachshund. I am level 3 certified, Frank snarled. I have 15 years of field experience. I've saved more lives than you have teeth. And if you think for 1 second that I won't tear your throat out just because I'm adorable, you are deeply mistaken. The laughing stopped. The Blackwood leader's eyes narrowed. Last chance, Hartley. Hand over the artifact. Walk away with your life and your pets. Finn's shift completed. His silver wolf stood massive beside Petra, lips pulled back from fangs, eyes blazing gold. A growl rolled from his chest like thunder. Mine, pack, ours, touch them and die. The Blackwood wolves tensed, ready to spring. Petra's wolf pushed against her skin, demanding release. But she was so new to this, didn't know how to shift properly, didn't know. Headlights cut through the dusk. Not one vehicle. 6. They came fast up the access road, Range Rovers and trucks, tires spitting gravel. They stopped in a loose formation, engines still running, blocking any escape route for the Blackwood pack. Doors opened. Wolves poured out. Big ones. Hartley pack wolves, their silver and black coloring unmistakable even in the fading light. They moved with military precision, forming a counter-circle around the Blackwood wolves. Adam emerged from the lead vehicle. Finn's beta, tall, broad-shouldered, his expression carved from stone. You're on Hartley land, he said. His voice carried across the parking area like a pronouncement. Attacking our alpha, threatening his mate. The Blackwood leader's confidence wavered. We have numbers. You have 20 wolves. Adam's smile had no warmth in it. We have 35 and we have her. The back door of the lead Range Rover opened. Margot Hartley stepped out. She didn't shift, didn't need to. Her presence hit the clearing like a physical force, alpha power refined over 4 decades of leadership. She was small compared to the wolves around her, but every single one of them felt her dominance. She surveyed the scene with the calm of someone who'd dealt with territorial disputes before breakfast for longer than most of these wolves had been alive. Blackwood. Her voice was quiet, deadly. Explain why you're threatening my son on my land.
The Blackwood leader straightened, trying to salvage authority.
The artifact belongs to my family. Has belonged to my family for 6 generations. Margot took 3 steps forward. Just 3. But the Blackwood wolves retreated. You tracked my son up a mountain, attacked his mate, attempted to steal what was never yours. We have claim, you have nothing. Ice dripped from every syllable. You're outmatched, outmaneuvered, and out of time. Leave now, or I let my wolves teach you what happens when you threaten a Hartley. The Blackwood pack shifted uneasily, looking to their leader for direction. Frank chose this moment to step forward. His stubby legs carried him to the front of the group. He sat down, lifted his head with immense dignity, and addressed the Blackwood wolves directly.
I would also like to note, he announced, that I personally witnessed your previous operative fail.
Spectacularly. He was defeated by a climbing instructor and a dachshund. So if you're planning to attack now, please understand that you'll be beaten by the same climbing instructor, the same dachshund, a very angry alpha wolf, his even angrier alpha mother, and approximately 35 Hartley pack wolves who've had to drive up a mountain to rescue him. He paused for effect. That's embarrassing, for you, professionally speaking. One of the younger Blackwood wolves actually took a step back. Additionally, Frank continued, warming to his subject, I am personally willing to bite as many of you as necessary, and I've been practicing. I've bitten a snake. I've bitten a stone construct of magical origin. I have range now. I have skills. Do you really want to explain to your grandchildren that you lost a fight to a 16-pound search and rescue professional? Silence stretched across the parking area. Then the Blackwood leader made a small gesture. His wolves retreated, melting back into the tree line. The leader himself held Margot's gaze for one more moment before turning and disappearing after his pack. The sound of their retreat faded into the forest. For a long moment, nobody moved. Then Margot turned her attention to Petra. She crossed the parking area with measured steps, her gaze sharp and assessing. Petra resisted the urge to fidget under that stare. Her wolf settled, recognizing the power but not feeling threatened. This was pack. This was family. Finn shifted back to human form, breathing hard, still healing. Adam tossed him a shirt from one of the vehicles. Margot stopped in front of Petra. You're the one who saved my son. He saved himself, multiple times. Petra kept her voice steady. I just showed him where to put his feet. A smile flickered across Margot's face. And then you climbed into a cursed mountain, faced a guardian, gave up your own answers to help him retrieve an artifact for a sister you'd never met. Petra's throat tightened. She didn't trust herself to speak. You're Finn's mate, Margot continued, which means your pack, which means your family, and family has a home here. She glanced at the mountain behind them, at the peak where secrets had been revealed and bonds had been forged. You've been searching for home your whole life, haven't you? Wondering where you belonged. Yes. The word came out barely above a whisper. You belong here. Margot said it like a fact, like something carved in stone. With us, with him. This is your land now. Your territory. Your pack. Tears burned behind Petra's eyes. My family, they're on another continent. Then we'll bring them here. If that's what you want. If they want to come. Margot reached out and gripped Petra's shoulder. You don't have to choose between your mate and your family. You can have both. Finn was beside her suddenly, his arm around her waist, his warmth solid and real. His mother smiled at them both, a real smile, warm and welcoming. Welcome home, Petra. The Hartley wolves began to shift back, pulling on clothes, relaxing now that the threat had passed. Someone started distributing water bottles. Adam was on his phone, probably reporting to whoever was coordinating security. Margot's gaze dropped to Frank, who had been sitting quietly throughout the entire exchange, his expression smug. "And you must be Frank," she said. "I am." Frank stood, his professional dignity fully restored. Level 3 certified, 15 years of field experience, recently expanded skill set to include supernatural combat and strategic intimidation. Strategic intimidation. Margot's lips twitched. Is that what we're calling it? I prefer accurate terminology. Frank Margot tilted her head slightly, her expression thoughtful. Like the Frankfurter brand? Frank's ears flattened against his skull. I beg your pardon? Petra tried to muffle her laugh and failed. Finn's shoulders shook with silent mirth. The sausage brand, Margot continued, completely innocent. Frankfurters, it's a compliment, really. They're quite dependable. I was under the impression, Frank said, his voice climbing in pitch with each word, that I was named for my integrity, my discipline, my professional excellence. You were, Petra managed between laughs. Absolutely. Were you? Frank rounded on her, betrayal written across his long face. Or was I named after a meat product? A very respected meat product, Finn offered, his voice strangled with suppressed laughter. I don't care how respected the meat product is. Frank was pacing now, his stubby legs moving fast. I am a professional. I have credentials. I have saved lives. I have dignity. The best dignity, Margot agreed, her eyes twinkling. And I have been operating under false pretenses for years because someone thought I looked like a sausage. Frank sat down hard on the gravel. I give up. I officially give up. We love you, Frank, Petra said, scooping him up and holding him against her chest. Sausage name and all. I'm going to need that in writing, Frank muttered into her jacket. Preferably carved in stone, so there's no future confusion about my value to this operation. Done. Finn scratched behind Frank's ears. We'll commission a plaque. Frank, Level 3 certified, Guardian Defeater, Snake Flinger, Honorary Hartley. I hate all of you, Frank said, but his tail wagged, just slightly, betraying him. Margot watched the exchange with open amusement. Then she gestured toward the vehicles. Let's get you three home. Lily's been vibrating with anticipation all day. She wants to hear every detail of this adventure. Can we skip the parts where we almost died? Petra asked. All of them? Frank asked. Most of them. That doesn't leave much story. Frank lifted his head from Petra's chest. I can provide a full tactical briefing with annotations and recommendations for future expeditions. Future expeditions? Petra stared at him. You just said you'd never climb again. I said I'd never climb again for recreation. Frank's dignity was reasserting itself. Professional consultations are different, assuming proper compensation and ground-based working conditions. And premium jerky. The venison kind, Finn said. Frank's ears perked. In that case, I'm willing to discuss terms. They piled into the vehicles, Finn and Petra in one. Frank settled between them on the seat. Margot sat in the passenger seat, giving directions despite everyone knowing the way home. As they pulled away from the mountain, Petra looked back one last time. Dreamer's Cliff rose behind them, its peak touched with gold from the setting sun. The Stone of Secrets was up there somewhere, holding its ancient magic, keeping its whispered promises. She'd found what she came for. Not just her wolf, though that was miracle enough. Not just answers to questions that had haunted her whole life. She'd found home. Finn's hand found hers in the darkness of the vehicle. His thumb traced patterns across her knuckles. Mate, always, ours. Frank sighed from between them. I suppose this is acceptable. Suboptimal working conditions, but acceptable companionship. And the jerky situation is promising. High praise, Finn said. Don't let it go to your head. They drove down the mountain as the last light faded, leaving Dreamer's Cliff behind them. But the bonds forged there, mate to mate, wolf to wolf, human to very opinionated dachshund, those would last forever, even if one of them was secretly named after a sausage. And that's Falling for Her, No Howling Needed. Written by D.N. Leo. Narrated by Jessica Lee. If you loved Petra, Finn, and Frank, especially Frank, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next story. Speaking of Frank, want to see him start a business, get his own business cards, and finally admit he loves his humans? The bonus chapter is waiting for you, completely free. Link in the description and pinned in the first comment. Drop a comment and let me know. What was your favorite Frank moment? The snake bite, the guardian attack, his formal recognition demands? DN Leo reads every single comment, and your feedback shapes future stories. If you enjoyed this one, you might also love our other shifter romances with quirky sidekicks. Check out happynovels.com for the complete collection. Thank you for spending time with Petra, Finn, and the most opinionated dachshund in paranormal romance. Until next time, stay cool and look out for falling alphas.